I won't be ringing that bell because that bell's going to get us hit with a couple of copyright strikes. You know what I'm saying? Yo, what is going on, people? NG is back again for another video, and I still have not, in the span of a week, managed to turn off the tracking autofocus on this camera. So I apologize for that in advance, man. This is what I call professionalism, and that's why I am, like I said in the last video, the master of minimalism. Speaking of the last video I did talking about the Microsoft E3 conference, a lot of you guys, man, shout out to y'all, all of the positive fan feedback in there saying you want me to bring this same energy to when I talk about the other E3 conferences. So I say, you know what? Screw professionalism, master of minimalism. That's what we're here for. So today what we are doing is going over not just one, but two E3 conferences, a whole 7 days later. But hey, what can I say, man? When you in LA and you having fun at the actual event, the last thing you could think of outside of trying to turn off this autofocusing is to do videos talking about the conferences. As you guys may or may not know, I was actually in E3 when it happened. I attended it. I went to a couple of the events that went there. I played a lot of amazing games, but I will save those for other videos. Today we're going to be talking about both the PlayStation and Nintendo E3 events. Yes, both of them very polarizing to say the least. So throughout the course of this video, I'm going to be a man of multiple hats, or in this case, a man of multiple badges. I'm going to put on my Sony Pony one for the beginning of this video, since it did come first. As you can see here, this is from the PlayStation E3 Experience 2018 event. No, I did not attend the actual conference. You guys know me when it comes to waiting online for these shits. If I have to sit my ass there for more than the length of an animated Disney movie, yo, I'll just fucking check out of that shit right there, man. I mean, I know you're there, you traveled across the country for it, so what's waiting 90 minutes? Bitch, 90 minutes? Do you know what you can do in 90 minutes? That is a whole lot of... I'm gonna keep it PG-13 for this video. But yeah, so we realized that we weren't going to get into the conference, so we're just like, you know what, let's just watch the conference by ourselves. But then we realized that we're in LA and Sony is hosting some of these theater events, so stay at our hotel and watch the Sony conference like a bunch of social rejects, or go to an air-conditioned movie theater where they give out free stuff. I was kind of leaning towards the first one, to be honest, because, you know, movement. Anyways, we went to this event, and overall, the conference as a whole was just... It was about as strange as Death Stranding, and Death Stranding, it's kind of funny I bring that up because Death Stranding is one of the games that they showed again for the third time, and we know nothing about it, so that's all I gotta say about the topic of Death Stranding. The conference had a lot of great games, no doubt about that. It had some surprises in it, but as a whole, the way that they structured it, I honestly think it was one of the worst I've ever seen, and not just talking about Sony, but talking about E3 in general. The presentation, it was just... It's like, you didn't have to do what you did, Sony. I understand what you were trying to do, but the execution was just flawed in so many different ways. So they open it up, and when we're watching the video, it's not on a traditional E3 stage. It's actually set inside this giant room, which you would later find out is to be something from The Last of Us Part 2. And they wanted to make it seem more immersive for the people there. Now, here's the thing. I'm all for that, Sony. I am. But you gotta keep in mind the millions upon millions who are watching this shit at home who don't have access to that giant-ass dome. Because while it was great seeing The Last of Us 2 and seeing the live performance of the music from the game, when they had to transition the people into an actual, like, stage arena, that took up time from the conference, and they just had to kill time with this pre/post-show thing that you would see at, like, a PlayStation experience. And to all the people who are watching at home, that shit was boring as fuck. I was on Twitter scrolling through to see if, like, my conference got fucked up, because something like that doesn't seem like a thing you would put in an E3 show. So the way they handled that was just very, very janky. Couple that with the fact that at my theater in particular, the conference actually, for lack of a better term, ended up dying like halfway through that. So there were just like 5 minutes of time where we were just watching a Dish Network logo on the screen while y'all were watching the new footage of Ghost of Tsushima, which I gotta say looks absolutely freaking incredible. I don't know how these developers are doing this, but how are these fucking developers pushing so much power out of like the base PS4, PS4 Pro, and we got this fucking Xbox One X out here that's supposed to be the most powerful thing since sliced bread, and we don't have a game that looks like that. I'm just saying, power is great and all, but you need the ingenuity when it comes to making these games. So that game looks freaking awesome. It's a nice departure for Sucker Punch, especially considering all they've been making is Infamous for the past couple of years, so I cannot wait for that. And then from there, the conference sort of started to pick up because it was not on, a weird church stage thing. We got a couple surprises. Resident Evil 2 Remake is a thing, which is freaking awesome. It's coming out in January. The new game from Remedy, Control, which looked aight to say the least. Hopefully it'll be more Alan Wake and less Quantum Flop. And from there really wasn't much else in terms of like, oh my god, wow, this is why I game. It was pretty much stuff that we had already seen before. We got a brand new Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer featuring Pirates of the Caribbean, and that was awesome. But again, it's a game that we had already seen, and we saw it yesterday. Sure, the trailer looked amazing, but come on, I need something more. And then they close off talking about Spider-Man, which is not a bad thing at all, because Spider-Man is my most anticipated game for the second half of the year. Every single time I see more gameplay for it, it looks absolutely incredible. But that's just it. It ends. So there were no big teases, no big surprises, nothing of the sort. And this is what kind of has me kind of like, all right, this conference was cool if you love first-party content, if you love gameplay. Like, Sony exceeded in that department, especially considering a lot of the other companies, especially Microsoft, for example, while I love their conference, a lot of the games that they were hyping up, they didn't show any gameplay for. All they had was just a logo or maybe a sliver, like a sizzle reel of footage, and that was it. Meanwhile, Sony is showing off all this new gameplay. But it's kind of like, all right, these are games that we already know have existed for years. Like, Last of Us Part 2, we know has been a thing for over a year and a half. Ghost of Tsushima has been a thing for over a year. So while it's great to see gameplay of those for the first time, just the feeling isn't there. Same thing for Spider-Man. We've seen Spider-Man at 3 E3s now. Great footage, but I was kind of expecting something more. And I understand what people are going to say about this. They're going to say, well, Neil, what do you expect? All the first-party studios are pretty much accounted for, which is true. All of the major studios have put out their games. Naughty Dog put out Uncharted 4, and they're also putting out The Last of Us Part 2. Guerrilla Games put out Horizon. Sony Santa Monica just released God of War. So what do you expect them to put out? They're most likely making games for PS5. I completely understand that. But still, I feel like you could have gotten more in the way of, let's just say, third-party acquisitions if you wanted to fill in some of the gaps of your conference. Because as a whole, while the conference was great from a gameplay perspective, in terms of surprise and wow and just like, oh my god, this is why I come to E3, it was kind of meh, to say the least. That being said, let's move on to another company, and this is not something that we got for attending Nintendo's E3, because as you know, they do these digital events. This is actually from the Splatoon 2 / Smash Bros. Invitational. I actually got invited by Nintendo specifically for this event, but in general as E3 as well. So yeah, I'm going to be wearing this in substitute of that. Let's talk about this Nintendo Direct. Now, if Sony had succeeded in delivering all of the gameplay, and Microsoft has succeeded in delivering all of the surprises, Nintendo succeeded in satisfying one particular audience, and those are fans of Super Smash Bros. Because as a whole, guys, I know you guys know I've had a change of heart with the Nintendo company as of late. You guys know I'm a big believer in the Nintendo Switch. This Nintendo Direct was not good at all. I'm not going to sugarcoat words. I'm not going to sit here and say, like, the usual things that people are saying when it comes to whenever a company messes up. Oh, well, it's because they had a stellar year the prior. That's why this year isn't so great. We're going to cut all that nonsense right now, you guys. This should have been an amazing year for the Nintendo Switch. The first 6 months of the system being out, we haven't really gotten anything in the ways of, wow, you need to own the Switch. All we've gotten are ports of games that existed on the Wii U, which are still good because they are inherently good games, and we've gotten what? A Kirby game. That's it for the first 6 months of the year? Okay, so maybe the second part of the year is going to be stacked, right? No, not really. We have a new Mario Party game and Smash Bros. All right. What about the stuff that they announced last year? You know, like Metroid Prime 4 and Bayonetta 3 and Fire Emblem? Yeah, Fire Emblem, delayed. Metroid, nowhere to be seen. Bayonetta. Guys, weren't we just getting on Sony and Microsoft for announcing so many games years in advance, saying that Nintendo doesn't do that? Yet here we are, Nintendo has done that with 1, 2, 3. Yoshi is now delayed into 2019. That's 4 games. And the rest of the year is looking pretty bleak. Does nobody see the problem here? Like, guys, I understand. I love the fact that the Switch is doing so well. I love the fact that there are so many games coming on the daily. Like, we just got an announcement that Dragon Ball FighterZ has come to the Switch. Fortnite just stealth dropped on the Switch. We got Octopath Traveler coming out next month. But still, that's not enough for some people. Sure, we're getting the third-party content now, but when you come to E3 and all you bring is Smash Bros. And a Mario Party where online is restricted to just the mini games, I'm sorry, but that is not hype-worthy. I understand that Smash Bros. Has a big fan base, a huge following. Like when I went to that invitational and I met so many people there, I understand why y'all love the series so much. But one game taking up more than half of your Nintendo Direct is not what I call winning E3. So as it stands, this Nintendo Direct was pretty disappointing because nothing in this show really got me excited to be a Switch owner. Sure, I have a lot of great games on the Switch right now, and I know with the way things are going, we're going to be getting a lot of games coming out of the blue. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, next month, Panic Button announces that they're bringing, like, Fallout 4 or Nier Automata to the Nintendo Switch. Like, it wouldn't be surprising. But from Nintendo, I'm just saying, I expected so much more from them. And yes, I understand they have the opportunity to announce more games down the line in the future because their platform is so unique with the Nintendo Directs. I get it, guys, I get it. But for the first 6 months of the year, we've kind of been saying the same thing. Oh, they didn't reveal too much during this Nintendo Direct. They're going to save it for the next one. Oh, this one was a mini Direct, so it didn't matter. Just wait for E3. And E3 is come and gone, and there's nothing. All right? Anyways, that's pretty much what I wanted to say as far as Sony and Nintendo are concerned. They weren't really that exciting. They had good games, but when it comes to the 3 big conferences, I would say in terms of putting on a stellar showcase of just variety, diversity, and getting you really excited, I think Microsoft takes the cake. And like I mentioned in that video, I have no intention to purchase an Xbox One, let alone the Xbox One X. But as it stands, they got me more excited to be playing games on PlayStation. Like the announcement of Devil May Cry 5, Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition, Cyberpunk. Those games like that are stuff you bring to E3, as opposed to spending 30 minutes on Smash Bros. And whatever the hell Sony was doing with their conference. You see what I'm trying to say? So anyway, you guys, that's it. That's pretty much what I want to say on the conferences. If I had to pick like my favorite games from Sony and Microsoft, definitely Ghost of Tsushima, Spider-Man, and Last of Us are like my top 3 from Sony. And then from Nintendo, can we really have a top 3? Smash Bros. Ultimate, because 8-player Smash is coming back. That's freaking awesome. Everyone is here! Fire Emblem with the 2 seconds of gameplay they showed, and fuck it, Dragon Ball FighterZ on the Switch, because I played that and it runs amazing on the console. For now, my name is NGS Sonny, and like always, I will catch you guys later. Peace.